from the Pathway Studios in Johnston proper. You are live from the Path.
And you're listening to Live from the Path, coming from the Pathway Studios here in Johnston proper.
I've been here all day.
I don't think you've been here all day.
I've been here most of the day. Dan's over here.
Okay, all right. Here's what we got going on the show tonight. So I have some Pope style advice. I think I don't know if I've ever done, like, maybe two. I barely ever do Pope style advice, I think, but I had one this week, and it's questionable. It's kind of like the podcast recommendations that we've made before. Like, it's questionable whether it's profound to anybody else, but it seemed profound to me. And so I've got some Pope style advice this week, and we've got Mike. We were going to talk about a quote. The quote. What was the quote from the man?
Hold on. I'm looking at it.
You lost it already. Well, we'll have some advice on Dear Life from the Path. While Mike's waiting to pick that up, we did have some technical difficulties last week for the show with John Paul Birch, but I got something out there for you. So make sure you go check it out at last week's podcast. It was a barn. I mean, we were here for a couple hours. Yeah. You got an hour and a half. It was probably enough. We overtalk.
Okay. Ready for the quote?
Here's the quote.
Someone popped this out on Twitter, and they said, for your information, your intention is irrelevant if your impact is harmful. Don't use your intention to dismiss someone who tells you they're hurt by something you did. Apologize, learn, and commit to doing better. And this is not the first time that quote, it seems to be making the rounds, right, of people putting it out. And so one more time, take a listen to it and just mull it over in your mind. So the quote is, for your information, your intention is irrelevant if your impact is harmful. Don't use your intention to dismiss someone who tells you they're hurt by something you did. Apologize, learn, and commit to doing better. So we're going to talk about that quote and try to give it a fair shake. I don't think it's quite as profound as it's
basically saying don't be defensive.
Well,
someone says you hurt me, don't defend you. Just apologize and move on.
Yeah, kind of.
Is that?
Yeah, kind of. Except for like what is and what is not harmful. Yeah. If that gets to be in the eye of the beholder, then like good luck telling a drunk he needs to quit drinking. Right, because you've wounded me. You've wounded my soul and my life by trying to speak into it. Who do you think that you are to speak harm into my life? Right, when it's obvious that like they're trying to take you out of harm, and like so once again, if harm is in the eye of the beholder, and there's no justifier or way and measure to what is actually harmful or not, then this quote's kind of hard to deal with. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think it's actually being said from the fact of is like, doesn't matter what you intended. If I perceive it as harmful, then you owe me an apology.
You slapped my hand as my diabetic hand was reaching for a chocolate chip cookie, and I said, hey.
That's correct. And here's the thing. I think what we're going to talk about is like, I think everybody knows better than this. But like you're easily swept in by this. Like your heart goes, yeah, I didn't mean to cause harm, even if I was trying to do a good thing. I probably owe an apology. And like even like people who follow Jesus go, yeah, you know what? Yeah, okay. But once again, we're just going to look at it at a fresh lens and just get 2 layers in and go, just make sure you're taking these things in and not being swept around by rando quotes on the internet and make you look at things differently or call you off of good things, saying good things, even hard things to people. Right? Because the thing is, if we don't ever say hard things to somebody, then the thing never gets said.
Yeah, the question. Well, yeah, one of the questions we're asked, like I always assume that if I've heard something particularly poignant, my first question is like, what is this cutting off? This is cutting off something. This is saying don't do this type of behavior, and like, is there a good way to have done that behavior that you're throwing out babies with bathwaters? If you're trying to protect against something, have you overprotected it?
Right, and here's the thing: is like, I would submit that God does not look at it this way. God does not say your intention is irrelevant. He doesn't measure things like that at all. He says, "Yeah, I want to know where your heart's at. That is what I care about. When you make mistakes along the way, I'm gonna grace those up. Like we're good, right? But like your intention is all that actually matters.
Yeah,
unless it's completely misguided, right? Like obviously you could take that and run it off the edge of a cliff or something, but
yeah." Okay, so and then we've got one article, and we're just gonna do this straight out the bat, and then we're gonna get the show moving along.
Okay.
So I feel like C.S. Lewis gonna be rolling in the grave. Like I wonder if any of his family is around for some of this stuff. Because like I'm just gonna say this out loud: is that like I could start a newsletter and go, yes, this is like aligning with C.S. Lewis, and like no one would ever know or be able to keep me from it.
Yeah.
God bless that man. I don't know where these things are coming from. There was an article on BeliefNet that said 6 ways women have an affair. No matter how you rationalize it, these actions are just as damaging as cheating. Okay, that's the thing I want you to keep in mind. No matter how you rationalize it, these actions are just as damaging as cheating. And 2 things I want you to think about. 1, is that true for the things we're going to say? And 2, why would these only apply to women? Those are the 2 questions.
And cheating, I'm assuming they mean like an intimate
Unfaithfulness
relationship.
and- yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
got it.
Okay.
Biblically knowing.
Okay. The last thing any loving husband wants to hear is that their wife has been unfaithful, but the truth is you've probably been unfaithful and may not have even realized it.
Oh, no.
You've mysteriously been unfaithful
Dear.
Your intention doesn't matter.
at the soda fountain. It isn't just sleeping with someone other than your spouse. Affairs involve our deepest emotions, and before we know it, we are so far gone our marriage can't recover. Okay, again, hold on to that and see if these things match that. Here are 6 ways women have an affair. Some are pretty clear and others less obvious. Isn't that the introduction to someone who wrote a bad article?
Yeah, yes. You may, yeah, right.
Okay,
Fuzzy.
number 1, daydreaming.
What?
What?
Keep your knickers
How dare
on.
you?
Expound.
Daydreaming may seem harmless. This sounds like people drinking caffeinated beverages. Black tea may be harmful at first. Daydreaming may seem harmless at first, especially if it doesn't involve sexual lust. But if you find yourself daydreaming about a person that isn't your spouse, okay, there's some more specificity. It's not only wrong, but also problematic. Infidelity begins in the mind. When you daydream about another man, you are allowing him to replace your husband in your thoughts, and that is being unfaithful. What may have started as an innocent daydream can cause great strain in marriage. More times than not, the reality doesn't live up to the storyline playing in your head. The more you obsess over the faultless man in your head, the more faults you find in your husband in real life.
Yeah. Okay, so this is true for men and women both.
Yeah.
I don't know that this men are just lazier, right? Like if and this is broad sweeping advice or whatever, but like generally ladies they will put thought and intention into like a man that they will think of in their head and then compare their schlub of a husband to him and go, yeah, that guy's never going to make it up, right? The dude doesn't have the imagination or the attitude to try to dream up a woman, so he'll just go find one on the internet that's willing to be naked, and then try to compare his wife to now this woman that has not gone through any trials or hardships with him at all, and go, well, now his wife is not measuring up. Like both sexes are equally guilty
Of course.
of this, and like it is odd to call the women out specifically for the daydreaming. Although I mean. I guess it really depends on how much time you're spending on it, right? Like a quick thought in your head, I don't think qualifies. We're getting really close to pharisaical territory here. Like things that God did not say are a problem, and we're calling them like red letter, big banner problems.
Yeah. I could see this as maybe red flags. I could see it as whoa back,
Caution.
Yeah, caution.
Yep.
Slow down, Nelly. But I have a hard time saying you have been unfaithful now because you had a daydream about the guy at work that always smells good and dresses nice and speaks properly and never itches his rear end.
Right.
That you
Does
see.
his buttocks never itch? I'm amazed.
Right. And actually, that's the place where stuff starts to creep in, is you start getting interactions with people that aren't your spouse, that aren't in situations that your spouse is in,
Right,
and they
yeah.
come out smelling like roses. Like, hey, that guy never stinks up the bathroom. Well, you've not been next to him when he was taking a dump. So,
Right.
like, is this a fair comparison? You live
Right.
with this other man.
Now, to be fair, there are many broken families because people allowed those daydreams to go further.
Agreed.
So that's why I say it is a caution. It's a red flag.
Yep.
It's a, take note.
Yep.
Step back. But I would have a hard time saying, oh, now you've been unfaithful.
This is the same.
It's
This
time-
is not the
yeah,
same.
Yeah, you better go to God with the altar and repent in tears and weeping. I'd say just start going the other direction.
Yeah. And I agree. And I think the broad takeaway is to Dan's point. Look, it's a caution, and like whatever it is that you're in a marriage, and so it's time to fix that one, to work on it, to give it the effort that it needs, and like just almost if you're ever comparing the person you're married to to someone you're not married to, just recognize this is not even a remotely fair comparison. One, you shouldn't be doing it, but like where you're being deceived it's not a like for like. There's a difference between spending your whole life making important decisions, having children, sorting out bills, sharing the bathroom, dealing with terrible in-laws or whatever with a person, and then someone who bears no responsibility for any of those things to you gets to float in and float out of your life with some
their
sort of
best.
magic.
That's
yes,
right.
it's exactly right.
Yeah. You know what? You know what looks really cool? A sports car. You know what sucks when you got to go to the hardware store? A sports car.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So like, it does get to be that type of comparison where you start looking at other people who outside of your marriage and be like, you know, look how great they are in this situation. But like now just try to put groceries in that sports car. Try to put all your winter gear plus your 2 kids in the sports car. Now it doesn't seem like it's holding up quite as cool, does it? Like, so you're running it through a really unfair filter.
Yes.
And maybe this is an opportunity to say, because you can't help it. Like, if your mind's wandering there, maybe it's a time to say, hey, I better sit down and talk to Billy and tell him why I'm thinking and why I'm thinking this. And like, maybe we should have a conversation. Not necessarily you need to measure up, but here's where I must be lacking in our relationship and have that work that out. I mean, because you're having that for some reason. There's some reason you're having that daydream.
Yeah, it's okay to address a leaky pipe without going, I'm going to move.
Yeah, right.
I'm out of here.
Okay, number 2, having physical intimacy with someone who's not your spouse compared to letting friends dictate your relationship.
Oh, boy.
On same level?
Letting friends dictate your relationship.
Here's the detail. When you surround yourself with friends who don't respect your relationship and those who aren't secure about their own relationships, your marriage will quickly fall into a toxic place. Again, I'm going to tell you this is not limited to the ladies. Guys are probably not as direct about this, but like you can have poor fella friends around you who encourage you in wrong things.
Who are either hunting every day or watching games every day or you know, they doing their whatever their hobby is.
That's right.
That interferes. Yeah.
But my wife don't give me no trouble. I get to hunt all the time, and like I just make sure I bring home the bills. This man is not the same thing as someone else going, hey, you should actively seek someone else, but he's harming you in the same way. And so I just be careful.
Yeah.
We are who we hang around. I don't know about that. It's important that we are surrounding ourselves with people who are uplifting and encouraging. While it's important to create time for your girlfriends, you shouldn't be spending more time with them than your husband. These kinds of friends who throw caution to the wind aren't there to support you, but to sabotage your marriage. Let me ask you this question. First of all, who's this written by? Dude or lady? What do we think?
Lady.
I'm going to say lady.
It is a lady. Leslie White. This almost, I could be wrong about this, but this seems like it could be true, but very caricature-ish. Doesn't it? Like there's an underlying thing that needs addressed and talked through that reasonable people can have challenges on, but this almost seems cartoonish where people get to dismiss it because it's so goofy and shallow.
Maybe you don't know the depth of it because you're not a lady.
Maybe it's
we
not.
should have waited till we had a lady in here.
Yeah.
Oh,
okay, I'm going to open you up to this. Ladies, as we're talking through this, like maybe I'm being too gracious. You conniving spiders. And this is happening in your day-to-day lives. But let me know. Maybe because like I've seen character or like cartoonish representations of dudes, and I think it's detrimental to talking about how to mature manliness when we act like the only caricature is a dude who sits on his butt all the time. That's not the only option. And so okay, I don't know. They just seem a little bit shallow. Number 3, not creating boundaries with people of the opposite sex. One of the most vital components to creating a happy, healthy, and fulfilling relationship is to become a master of setting boundaries in your marriage. It's especially important that you create boundaries with male coworkers, friends, and acquaintances. If you don't, you may quickly find yourself in a vulnerable position. What may begin as an innocent friendship can easily spiral into an emotional or physical affair. The next thing you know, you are thinking about this man more and wishing you could spend more intimate time with him.
And the daydreaming returns.
There it is. The thinking about the man. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm helping with this orphanage in Africa, and there's a couple over there, a married couple who are the directors there, and I'm like the director here. So there's a lot of communication going on back and forth.
Yep.
I have a relationship. I met her first, right? And so I have somewhat of a relationship with her over the last few years. We've met and talked, and now we're like in a working relationship. And so we've been doing a lot of talking, like as we're kind of ramping into this thing.
Yep.
And it occurred to me 2 days ago, I thought, I probably ought to start a new conversation thread, on Messenger that includes him.
Mm-hmm.
Just because, we're not doing anything, but just because, just be safe. And so I started to think, hey, blah, blah, blah. And she says, yeah, I've been showing him. I figured she was showing him because they're in partnership together.
Yep.
And neither one of us were having an affair. We never crossed the line. But we also said, hey, gosh, maybe we should also be intelligent and wise.
Yep.
And yeah, I think this article is going a little. I just don't agree with them. But I do in heart.
Yeah, right. It can caution.
Yeah,
it's something, and we had this conversation, I want to say 6 or 7 shows ago, which is like, it is a disservice to position either men or women to be constantly thinking that they are like, it treats the opposite gender as a completely sexual aggressor by acting like you cannot have normal relationships, kind interactions, hey, how's it goings with people of the opposite gender. Like, I think it causes us, in our attempt to make sure that people aren't treated as objects, you turn them into objects as if they are wandering threats. But like anything, this is going to seem like a bad comparison, but like a donut on a table, can be a risk to you if you decide to overindulge. If you take it outside of its boundary and have 15 instead of treating it within its proper boundary and eat 1 and maybe a 2, anything can be misused. And so you got to know where your risks are. You got to know the thing that says, hey, I should not eat anymore, and you do it anyway. That's a problem. And so I think caution is appropriate everywhere. Using people is always wrong, but like acting like, I can't talk to you because you've got a bra on, that you are a total risk to me and you are just an aggressive sexual object. Like, we're missing out.
Yeah, I can't be trusted.
Yeah,
and neither can you.
Yeah, right. Because what are you going to do with the freedom that God gave you, right? Like when God releases this sin from owning you, I always remember the thing that I've always prayed for is like for God to help me to see women as He sees them, right? Not as like a sinful, broken Mike would see them. Because like I don't want to not have interactions with them.
Yeah.
Right? Like I don't want to have to set up a bunch of ridiculous boundaries. I will until God can work that out of me, right? But when God started to work that out of me, I'm like, look, I want to be able to have conversations with people who want to know about Jesus, and whether that be a man or a woman or whatever. Like we start talking about some certain stuff, I'm going to bail, and be like, look, this is probably not the right conversation for me. But like, I just, it just sounded so stupid to be like, well, if someone's, came to you and they really wanted to talk about Jesus and like they were a woman, you're like, hold on, let me go get my wife. I can't help you, right? Like that's terrible. That just doesn't sound right to me. So like it was always a God redeem this brokenness in me, not help me to set up proper boundaries to keep the woman zombies away from me so I don't act a fool, you know?
Yes. Yeah. So yeah, whatever. Let's go with just be wise about it.
Yeah.
And I think in certain situations, like Dan, like what you're talking about, like there's just a value in transparency, not because there's any particular risk, but because like if anybody were to ever think there was a particular risk, we can easily demonstrate. It's why we keep the books.
Exactly. Well, like, our conversation, hey, are you going to the conference? What hotel are you going to be at? Like all of a sudden you're like, okay, that's not where any of this was going, but let's just include and I'm sitting with my wife and we're having the hey, I'm going to ask him, blah, 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 Right. But it was just like, it's just better if we're just all involved with this.
Yes. Yep. That's right. There's not a harm in it. And frankly, what it does is it protects against, like, I know what someone could accuse me of to try to take something that is pure and make it look like it's rough. And I don't want any part of that.
Nope.
Yep. I don't know what number we want. Focusing too heavily on yourself, equivalent to cheating? Next week on Geraldo. Contrary to popular belief, you can be unfaithful to your spouse with yourself.
Okay, continue. Maybe it'll vet itself
This is jacking with my mind.
Don't go there.
Who's
How would you imagine having that conversation? Look, man, I need to talk to you for a minute. And all of a sudden the dude's stomach is like turning over like, oh no, here it comes. Look, I've been seeing another person. Me.
I really like me.
Oh no.
I've been thinking about me all the time. Daydreaming even. Contrary to popular belief, you can be unfaithful to your spouse with yourself. How you might ask? When you begin to choose self-gratification over spouse gratification, you're being unfaithful. There's not. I mean, selfish maybe, self-centered maybe,
Yeah.
unfaithful. I get like why? Okay, here's the question: Why are we stretching this? Is it because is this person trying to make the case that like you're not taking some of what would be considered minor like cautions seriously enough, so then you drag it over into the camp as being the same thing? Does that feel like what's happening here?
I think it's I think maybe it feels like they're writing a counterbalance to most articles that are written about men who are way more obvious about the things that they're doing, and I feel like she's trying to speak to women's internal thoughts and feelings towards how these things, like what appears to be harmless, ends up being harmful when made into a pattern instead of a deviation.
I would feel better if the posturing of the article was, hey, you think you would never do this.
Here's how it happened to me. That would be a great article.
Yeah,
Someone
here's
says,
how
here's
Open
how I did it."
doors to
Here's how it can
unfaithfulness.
start. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That'd be way different as opposed to making it sound like it's the same thing.
I mean, my wife hates it when I go to Hoo Hot. I love Hoo Hot.
Yeah.
Because I make it really spicy and garlicky, and she can smell it when she walks in the door. She's like, I know where you went to lunch. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
And so I used to just not go.
Yeah.
For quite a bit. And at some point, about 5 years ago, I thought, I'm going to go. I really like Hoo Hot. Now, and I go by myself usually because, it's just how the schedule works. I don't know. I don't think of that as being unfaithful to my wife. And she doesn't either. Now it's kind of a joke.
Right.
But that's totally selfish. 100%.
Right.
I love every moment of it. And
Yeah.
I know she's going to hate every moment of the next 2 days. But
isn't that the thing, though? Like, you didn't marry yourself, right? And so, like, you agreed to be in a relationship with a completely different person.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, where parts of you, where God says spiritually he sees you as one, like, you have two very unique parts that God has brought together. And, like, I don't want to erase every part of my wife.
Yeah,
Like, I want her to be independent enough that, like, she's different than me and I can enjoy her company. I spend all day with myself. I want to hang out with someone different, and you can't be different if you're all of a sudden trying to make up to a painting that your spouse has in mind for you to match. Like, you can't do that.
Yeah, and that's interesting because I do think it is a maturity in a marriage relationship to like there's a point where we're good people who love each other try to make each other the best that they can be. And so sometimes it takes encouragement, and you are trying, like, they're trying to change you. My wife has spent a lot of time trying to change me, as she should. There's parts of me that needed to change. And then there are some parts of me that are like at some point, you do start to lose you. Like, you're not you anymore. And like, you could marry yourself back to cheating. This on cheating with yourself business. But there is something that says, boy, this sounds like super elementary schools. Embrace your differences. But like, we're different.
Yeah.
And is there a way to look and say, there's a place for how do we enrich and improve each other, and there's a place for saying, can we be happy that we are distinct and allow that to influence each other well also?
Yeah.
And so I think there's a maturity in that that is difficult to get to because you never want to feel the sense that like, hey man, I'm turning them over into the thing of which I thought they could be better, but really you're saying, look, they're still them. I want them to be them. I want them to express to them who they are and find a way to support that while also helping them be the best of them.
Right. And like, just to tack on to that, because this is the downfall of a ton of marriages, right? Like, you need to give people room to think about themselves because, like, I can't, like, as a spouse, you can't carry their happiness, right? Like, you just can't, right? Like, pure joy comes from God, but like, you're happy, that comes from you. Right, if you sack your spouse with it and go, well, they're not making me happy anymore. That wasn't never their job, and frankly, they can't hold it anyway. It's too heavy of a load, right? And so, like, it is your job to know you and spend time on you and like grab some fulfillment of the things that God created you specifically, apart from your marriage and your role as a mom and a dad and whatever. Right, God made you unique and special and gifted in ways, and like, you can't just shove all that to the side and expect to be like a blank person that carries the wills and wants of people right around you. That's not what God made you for.
Maybe what throws this article off for us is I think we all three have wives that are not selfish people.
Right.
Like my wife's the opposite of this. I mean, like she will do anything for everybody and not even think of herself ever.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, I mean, on her birthday, we went to like a few years ago. We kind of laugh at this now, to Red Lobster. She hates seafood. It was her birthday. You know, and she's like, "What should we do for her birthday?" And I was joking, "Oh, we're going to Red Lobster." She's like, "Okay," and I'm like. And we ended up going there, and then like, what? it's your birthday,
Right.
You know? But that's a pretty good example of just her personality. So I'm sure there are people on the other side that will go overboard. But so that's why I'm pushing back. I guess I haven't experienced that.
And I think it is that, like, again, this is a right thing to delve into. This is a right caution in your marriage. I think you need to be cautious that you are living a marriage that does have you thinking of the person that you're married to, serving the person that you're married to. I just, like, this shortcoming is something that you mature from. I'm not sure I would put it on the level of, hey, this person was unfaithful to me because they were self-centered.
Right.
It's something to discuss.
I feel this one's the least of. The other ones you could talk me into, and like I think they are legit warning signs. I don't know about this one.
Yeah. Let's see. Keeping secrets. When you keep secrets from your husband and don't consult him daily, you are creating distance from your husband, which can eventually lead to separation. The secrets always begin small. They may show up in the form of little white lies. You start telling yourself that he doesn't need to know about the flirty text your guy friend sent you. Okay, this is way different.
Right. By the way, a man has crossed the boundaries and sent me a flirty text. Yeah, your husband should know about that.
Yeah.
Why can't I have a lock on my phone, you wonder? He doesn't need to know my private business and who I've been texting. Despite how good a job you're doing rationalizing or hiding this, it will come back to haunt you. Now, I'm going to say there's probably a difference between keeping secrets and, like, I mean, my wife could go, hey, I texted 38 people today. I'm like, excellent. Keep up the good. I mean, did you enjoy it? Like, I don't care.
Did you tell them about Jesus?
But think about what a healthy relationship like marriage looks like. Let's say some rando girl texts me this weird flirty thing, and I'm like, sweet Moses, right? And so the first thing I do when I go home, I go, check this out, woman.
Right.
What am I supposed to do about this? Isn't this awkward? And then she laughs and goes, oh, for heaven's sakes, right? Like, this is all comedy because she's not threatened by it.
Yeah.
Right.
Right? It happened, but it's not a threat to her. Our marriage is
Who
what
wants
our
to be my
marriage
friend
is.
on Snapchat?
Yeah, like, okay, so that they're going to have to go, right? And she would either go, yeah, it's probably time for her to go, or, now hold on. Why don't you try responding in this way and make sure it's what you think it is or whatever. You know, it's like just a voice of reason, like, as a friend and as my spouse. Like, what do I do about this weirdness? I don't want to be talking to no flirty woman, you know?
Right. I might say something that I don't even realize is either being unnecessarily rude or leading people on. I have no literal idea. You tell me what to say. Yeah.
But, I mean, this is legit advice, right? Like, I honestly don't understand married couples that have locks on their phone. I don't understand people that let kids have locks on their phone. There's just no reason for that, right? Like, there is no amount of privacy that is necessary, especially on a device, that can be broken, stolen, or whatever. And one that especially if you have younger teenage kids, right? Like, I'm all for allowing your kids to start having things to themselves. You don't have to be all up in their business all the time, right? But, like, push comes to shove, I should be able to unlock your phone. Right? I really should be able to answer a phone, shut off an alarm that you've ignored or whatever, because you don't have anything to hide from me. And the same is true in a marriage as it is with your kids. Just do that right. If this is you, stop it right now. Both of you set your lock to the exact same thing, right? You're both of your phones unlocked with the same pin pad.
Yeah.
And just get it done. Don't be living a life like this. Don't be taking your phone with you in the bathroom. Don't be worried about your spouse is going to find out something that they shouldn't. Like, live your life honestly, for heaven's sakes. That's what freedom's about.
I mean, how firmly are you saying we can't Candy Crush in the bathroom? Dan, is that what you were going to ask?
Don't take it because you could take it in there to do some games if you want, but don't take it because you're hiding it from your spouse. Let's put it that way.
You about lost Dan and I for a minute there.
Can you take the VR into the bathroom?
Dude, if
What's
you
going
VR
on in
that
there?
toilet- what if something scares you? You got to stand up and be like, what's that?
I can explain what happened in
And
here.
someone did the Rocket Man in here.
My clan clashed with someone. Okay. Let's see. Here we go. Next. Is this the last one? Yeah, okay. Technology. The heavy use of technology in your marriage can be problematic for a number of reasons. First, it stifles good communication. If you're one of those couples who goes to dinner and you both immediately pull out your phones, you may be more focused on what's going on in the world than what's going on in your marriage. Infidelity. Secondly, technology is an easy access point to cheating. Social media provides a space for not only public messaging, but also private messaging.
So does church.
Right.
I mean-
and conversations in the grocery store aisle.
Yeah.
My husband's not here.
I could have sworn I kind of agreed with one of these when I read it the first time.
Let's see. Talk to your spouse and ask him what you're currently doing or what you could potentially doing that would make him feel threatened, disconnected from you, or cheated on.
Okay, yeah. So this is the problem. This is the same problem with the quote we're going to talk about, right? This is why Jesus focuses on the condition of your heart and not so much on your outside actions, because your heart will drive outside actions, right?
Yeah.
Is a phone or having social media off the bat a bad thing? It's neither one. It's neither good nor bad. It's innocuous. Like almost everything that they're talking about is innocuous.
Yeah.
It really depends on what the intention and the position of your heart is, right? Could I get a flirty text from someone that I didn't intend? Absolutely I could, right? The minute I hide it and keep it secret means it means something to me, and I want to hide it from my wife. Now,
Yeah.
my heart's wrong, right? But the fact that I got the text and I showed my wife and said, what am I do about this weirdo? You know what I'm saying? Like, we've crossed no boundaries. That we're introducing a bunch of pharisaical behavior as if the heart is not what matters. And like it's why Jesus focuses on it and said, this is what I want to know. If you've thought about killing your brother, now we need to talk about where your heart's at, right? Not whether you did it or not. That's everything in this list. Your heart, it matters where your heart's at. All these things are like, by the time it's gotten to these indications, your heart's already not where it's supposed to be.
Right. All right. Yeah. It's too bad because, like, actually, I think there's some of the conversations that this article starts are good conversations to have.
Yeah.
It's just framed in such like a Sally Jesse Raphael framework that, like, it's easy to dismiss. Oh, I'm not doing that, so I'm not cheating. Like, well, can we start with whether this is healthy or not?
Right.
What a miss.
Yeah,
That's
agreed.
unfortunate. All right.
Are there any ads for divorce lawyers in that ad?
Actually, the next article was 7 ways to recover from infidelity. Number 1, drop your friends. Number 2, get rid of yourself. You're a risk to everyone.
right.
Don't be in a room alone with yourself, and certainly don't have lunch by yourself. Okay, Mike, do you have the quote?
Sorry, it keeps disappearing on
Yeah.
me.
Okay. Hey, so I'll tell you something funny happened to me this week. I was at a coffee shop. Me and Booba were actually working out there, and I'd ordered. So at the coffee shop, like you get unlimited coffee refills, but like I don't know, I was most of the way through the day, and I wanted to get something a little bit more delicious. And so I go up to the counter and I order. It's called a Cafe Borgia, and it's chocolate. It's like a mocha, really. So coffee and chocolate, and then there's like orange zest in it. And I ordered it one time like 10 years ago, and it felt super exotic. I'm like, I'm gonna be a Borgia man. And hot dog, it was pretty good. Anyway, so I ordered the thing, and the lady that's behind the counter makes it up or whatever. And I ordered a medium, and she had made it a large. And then she pushes it over to me, and then she winks and goes, "On the house." And I thought, what? Like, oh well, thank you very much. And then she crossed herself. Like what forehead whatever does the cross
Sign
thing.
of the cross.
Yeah. And it really weirded me out, I'll be honest. I did not know what to do. I don't like it felt like she was, I don't know, blessing it. It was odd. So I go back to the booth, and the same girl shows up. She would be a younger woman, so probably, I don't know, 28, 30, something like that. Comes to the booth and has written on like a napkin, and it just said like, I won't tell anyone, but I'm excited that you're here. And I'm like, what in the, this is weirding me out. It's one of those conversations where I thought I need to go tell my wife or whatever. Like I thought I'm going to hold on. I'm going to take a picture of it right now. And then I'm going to text it to her. And I said, this just happened. I don't know how to explain it. And so anyway, Boo was there, and he sees it, and he's like, what the heck is going on over there? I said, I don't know, man. Go sort this out for me. Because I feel like Booba could do this with me. I wouldn't even know what to say. And so he goes and starts talking to this girl. He comes back, and he gets to the table, and he goes, hey, she thinks you're the Pope. I said, what? He goes, I don't know how she got under the impression, but this girl thinks that you're the Pope. And so I said, well, how do I stop this madness? Like, I like this free Cafe Borgia. I mean, that's fantastic. But that crossing thing really weirded me out, and I don't know how to explain this napkin. And so he goes, you got to give some advice, like the Pope would do. So, like, it distracts attention. Just act like you're the Pope. Give the Pope-style advice that would benefit for you and for everybody in this coffee shop. And then we're going to drive away and hope this woman is just not here the next day. I said, okay, that's fine. And so I thought about it for a minute, and I prayed, and this is what I said. I looked at the crowd and I said, I have the solution to all your money problems. Every financial savings problem, money problem, budgeting problem that you've ever had, I have the solution to it. And everyone was all ears. And I said, it's not a better budgeting program. It's not a firm, harsh, hard commitment between you and your spouse to save. You don't have to save more. You don't have to invest wisely. None of that. I said the key to all your money problems is contentment. And the reason I said that is because I was talking with my oldest daughter, she's taking some classes, and one of the classes is like a personal finance class. And that's kind of what it's focusing on. Good things like, hey, you should save some of the money, and here's the budgeting tools. Here's how you should think about your money. Here's ways to otherwise invest your money for financial freedom later on in life. Even some of the Dave Ramsey type of stuff. And I was thinking about it, and I have a hard time with some of that stuff because a lot of it seems really self-serving. It's very self-focused. It's like even Dave Ramsey, and I'm sure it's done great things for people. And this is going to sound like, hey, I'm a guy who doesn't follow it, and so maybe I'm just jelly of what you're doing. But a lot of it is, live differently now so that you can live like nobody else kind of later on. But there's so much life that it feels like you miss out on doing some of that stuff, and so much generosity. You even how generous you are gets budgeted, budgeted very, very clearly. And there's probably wisdom to that, but it just feels like how many years am I going to burn missing out on moments and conversations and the ability to just be stupid generous because I'm plotting for a more secure, financially secure life about 15 years from now. And I know it's not that simple. Okay, I know, but that's one of the things that we were talking about. And so I was trying to figure out then, for a guy who, rudimentally manages my money, what is my advice to my kid? Because if it's not that, is it just, okay, you don't need to budget? Okay, no, you don't spend wildly, or what's my actual recommendation? And I think what it came to is again, thinking back of biblical prudence and wisdom, it's a call to contentment. Because if you were content with your own circumstances, if you appreciate what you have and don't have a burning desire to always get more and get better, then you don't have to actually be so strict with your budget because you're not going to spend it anyway because you were content. And so I was thinking back at if I look at hey, in what ways have I misused my money? It's chasing things. It's going, I want the nicer this. I want the better that. I want the newer I want, as opposed to being able to look around and going this thing is just fine. I'm content with that. In fact, I had this has happened with me, my oldest kid. I have a gas station problem. Always have. And so I go in there, I'm like, I'm going to grab something. And then I'll look at her and go, do you want anything? And she'll go, no. And my wife will do the same thing. I'm like, what? Why not?
How could all of this?
It's wait, there's 1,000 things in here. You look at this whole store and go, no, I don't want anything. And they've taken up to going, I'll take a cup of ice. And I thought, boy, would my life be easier if all I wanted was a cup of ice. Or if I could just drive by the gas station and go, do you want anything? No. That my problem is not that I don't have the money or that I wouldn't have it to give or invest or all these things. It's a lack of contentment. And actually, if you think about the way that the scripture doesn't sit and talk to you about budgeting, but it does speak, Paul talks about this in multiple letters. It happens in 1 Corinthians. It happens in 1 Timothy. He's talking about being content. And if you are content, I don't think you're going to have to worry about your budget. If you can look around and say, I'm satisfied with what I have, you're not going to have to worry about whether you're stashing enough away or whether you have it to invest or whether you have it to give. And so that's my Pope-style advice. It applies to me. It's the advice that I gave my oldest daughter, and the fake Pope advice to the rest of the world is that, if you traditionally just suck at budgeting and you're like, I can't, you fight over it in your marriage. You guys, it's just money is a big problem. Stop trying to fight the money battle and pray that you can be content. And once you're content, I think your money stuff will start to sort itself out. That's my Pope style advice. Get off my coffee shop.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of wisdom in that. You think why? Okay, so like if people say I want to be content but I'm not, how do you make that happen?
Well, so multiple things really. One, I think it's something to pray on because it's a earthly pull. It's a physical. Because think of that, even coming off that Charlie and Chocolate Factory cheating document we just read. But like, that's the pull too. I'm not satisfied in my marriage. I'm not content here, and so I'm going to find something that I think is going to make it better. And so like, some of it is. So I think it's a spiritual problem. To start, I think it is a prayer thing. Like, why? What am I always chasing? And again, I'm not against the random gas station visit. I'm not against like getting the slightly better TV or whatever it is. Like, okay, I mean, I think there's bounds to it, but like, if you're going to paycheck and you doesn't feel like it should have to be that way, I'd start with contentment before I'd start with your budget, because your money's going to some place of which you don't feel content. And it could be like, the car, the truck that I drive is, 14 years old. And like everyone, someone drives by in a nice looking truck or something. And I'll be like, man, I think I need that truck. I don't need that truck. Hey, mine's got like I have 6 people in my family. We can all fit in that truck. But like, it's a real pain in the teeth. It's not the crew cab, right? Where they get its own door. It's got like a half door. So anytime any of these kids want to get out the back seat, I got to open my door. And you can't get groceries in this stupid thing because you got to open up your door and then open up the side door and you're like caught. It feels ridiculous. But like, does all that mean I would need to put up another $40,000 or whatever people are doing?
Right.
And like I'm saying, like there's space to be like, look, I just got to get a new truck. I'm okay with that. But like this for me, that's a contentment problem. The thing gets around. It's my whole family fits in it. Like there's a contentment problem.
Well, and actually, it's a pretty simple exercise. Is look back on your first X number of years of your life and go, well, did it ever work? Right? The thing that I bought that I thought was going to bring me contentment, did it work? I mean, I was pumped about it for like a week, a month, or whatever. But like, did it actually provide long-term contentment? It did not.
No. Well, I always think about this when it comes to tools. So, I had a bunch of hand-me-down DeWalt tools from Mike. Mike had been upgrading his tools or whatever, or he had extra like drills and stuff lying around. And like, I don't know, I was using it one time and I thought to myself, they're making newer and better. I got to upgrade. I've got work to do. I'm going to get some new tools. And I went and I did. I went and bought some. And then I thought back and I thought, this thing that I was screwing this screw in with not 4 hours ago was like whiz bang, 6 years ago? Yeah. Some guy bought it, got it fresh off the line, and goes, holy crap, I got the brand new spanking thing. And are you telling me that within 6 years, the thing that was like spank your leg awesome is keeping me from doing productive work?
Yeah.
Come on. I mean, maybe it needs a new battery or something, but like how easy it is, or like the TV at my house is 41 inches. It's one of those deals where like it would cost another $200 for the 42-inch TV, but on a Black Friday, Target going to sell you one for $200 less for one less inch. And you're like, I'll take it. And so I got this thing, and then every year at the Black Friday or the Amazon days, there's some kind of like, giant 2,000-inch TV for $285, and you're like, well, hot dang, I
can take that right now.
I could use that. It's not, and it's reasonably priced. Like 10 years ago, I would have paid $2,500 for that. And so, but like, is my TV letting me down? Like, can't I see the things that are? Have I ever gone? I can't take it all in, but I'm not content. And so sorry, getting back to answer your question. One, I think it is a spiritual thing. I think it's asking God, like, I need help being content with the things that are going on, being content in my marriage, being content on how much time I have in a day, being content with the things that I have, being content with the money I make, being able to thrive in the job that I have. Can we start there? There is, I think, a bit of an affirmation type of thing to remind yourself of, like, this was good yesterday. Like, recognize when it's pecking at you. There was something else going on. Oh, go coffee. Like I drink the type of coffee I drink. Like I'm not particularly tempted by this. I'm not tempted by better coffees. I can't tell the difference. Thank you very much, Lord. Like I don't know the difference. But like I'll say, oh man, I'd like to go to the Starbucks today. Why? Like I have coffee at my house. What is the thing? I don't even like it. It doesn't even make much of a difference. I like holding the cup. I like going in the thing. And like, again, I'm okay with small things. Like, I think I got to be careful with this because like it was one of those things that I do think you can work your way out of small moments in a life. Like I pay for coffee any day of the week when it comes to me sitting across from somebody. Because you know what's awkward? Hey, I'll meet you for coffee. And some guy goes, oh, I refuse to drink anything. I'm on a budget. I mean, okay. I don't care if you don't drink coffee. Right. And maybe you love water. That's also okay. But like, it's not the same moment, you know, and it's not the same. Like, hey man, we're all going out to the Rib Shack after the football game, and you're the guy going, I'm saving up to live like no one else. Like, I mean, okay, but like, there's something communal about things like that I'm not sure. I'm not sure it's worth it.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry. So I think it's a prayer thing. I think there's a reminder thing. Like you have to be able to remind yourself, and do things that like intentionally trigger you that like, hey, you're satisfied with this. Look around. What are you thankful for? When you can pray thankfully and speak to people and talk about as a family, hey, I'm thankful for the house that we have. Yeah, I'm thankful. It's the pipes are leaking, but we got 2 bathrooms. Thankful, right? Like when you affirm those types of things and reminded of that, I think it causes you to not be as discontented. And having people remind you that you should be thankful, like you get caught up, but this is where people start talking to other spouses and goes, dude, your wife is awesome. What is the matter with you? Like, what are you forgetting? What are the 50,000 things that you forgot about your spouse today that you spent an extra 2 minutes thinking about this person over here?
Yeah, right. You would have to take a lot for granted to get to the spot that you got to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So maybe it even extends beyond budgets. It extends to like your relationships and all kinds of things. And it doesn't mean settle for junk, but like that isn't really what we're talking about. I just think we lack contentment. And again, Paul thought this was a big thing, like not feeling like you're having to chase worldly other things and other whatever tinglers that you got in there. Work to make the things, get the most value out of the things that you have. Work and cultivate the relationships that you have. Even think about it, like you go shopping for churches. Like you got discontent because what? Like the music that you loved 2 weeks ago suddenly is real problematic for you. Like I'm seeing it for me, and I think it's true. And you can attack the problem from the other direction and go, I'm going to get a good budget. I'm going to get a journal that me and my wife work through because we got all these problems. But I'm telling you, the pressure on you is discontentment. And like all the tools in the world are not going to chase that discontentment away. All the programs aren't going to change that discontentment away. If you can get rid of the discontentment, you're going to be flourishing with time and dollars. And then you're going to have all kinds of really good problems like, what do we do with all this? So anyway, Pope-style advice.
Yeah, I like it.
Okay, what's the quote, Mike?
No, I got rid of it already.
Okay.
Hold on.
Okay, wait, again?
Yeah, sorry. It keeps going away. Did I lose it completely? Yeah, it's gone.
Okay, let's save it for next week.
Okay.
Let's do some advice.
I gotta be honest, it was dumb anyway.
Okay.
We got past it. Point is like if someone says what would the main budget of the quote is like it doesn't matter what your intent was if you caused harm, and I really just to wrap it up before people just get taken away with it on social media is like it does matter what your intent was.
Yeah.
And like people gauge harm based on how they feel about something at the moment. And so like we name one time, like you guys ever watch that intervention show on TV where like people want to get in a room with like the guy and be like, hey man, you got a problem. Take one person that's like, oh, I thank you for loving me so much. I'm so glad we did this. No one reacts that way.
Right.
Everyone's like, what are you doing? Everyone's attacking me. I feel attacked and I feel like everyone's coming after me. It's like, yeah, are you doing me harm? As far as that guy thinks, but like they're trying to keep you from killing yourself, you know? And so like, I don't think you get to gauge harm by how it's taken in. Like, this is where we get to rely heavily on Jesus. Is like we get to say God gets to call balls and strikes on what is actually good for people. I've said some very harsh things that were very true and needed to be said to people that did not take them very well.
Yeah.
Right? Now, I'm not saying that like you can't just wanton go out. That the adage is true that we talk about, where like Jesus always delivers things with truth and love, and you have to have both in whatever measure God's sending it out. You can't have one without the other if you want to represent Jesus at all. But just because someone did not receive it well does not necessarily mean that you did not deliver what you were supposed to deliver.
Right.
People don't take bad news very well.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true. That's true. Right. It's just that is not the evaluator. The next level evaluation is whether it's accurate. Are you saying something to me that is true? Like you can be guilty of the other thing. You can have, you can intend to say something that you believe is helpful and be wrong and cause harm, and you should repent of that directly.
Yeah.
Definitely. But like you could also say something that is very true that people take poorly, that needed to be said, and is ultimately for the because the measure of harm actually that's the problem. It's time. The measure of harm cannot be how did this affect me in the next 2 minutes. That isn't how it works. So like, am I offended right now is not the same thing as, was this a true thing? Did it impact my life in the way that it should? Did I take it to heart and did something change? And ultimately it caused me benefit. So we're trying to render too quick of a judgment, as if our ability to say whether something is good for us can all be assessed at one time. Like life is way too more complex than that.
Yeah.
Like oftentimes harsh things that people say to me have some bit of reality to them, of which I might be able to reject a good 70%, and they could have even intended me harm. And I should still look at it and go, yeah, but there's like 30% truth to that. I should probably take that in.
I could retool. I totally get it.
Yeah, yeah. So it's just it's if your feelings are too short, like they give nothing any space to steep.
Yeah, that's correct. Your gut reaction of what harm is does not work. In fact, your gut reaction, you know better than this, right?
Yeah.
Like, name the last time someone said something that was very true and very impactful, and you took it well. You immediately tried to defend yourself, or immediately tried to discredit the person that was saying this thing about you, right? And then given some space and some time and some reflection, you're like, dang it, every bit of that was true.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
If you're in some type of rebellion against God, you're fooling yourself usually. I mean, sometimes it's all right, but usually you're fooling yourself. So yeah, if someone calls you on the carpet on it, your first reaction is going to be to push back.
That's right.
Yeah, it's not going to be like, oh, you're absolutely right. Yes, yeah, yeah, I'm in. I'm out of that. Yeah, you have to let it soak in and let the Holy Spirit do its job, and let the Word of God do its job. And before you react and say, yeah, okay, it's time for some change.
Yeah.
And some people never do change, but you still got to have the conversation.
Yeah, agreed.
You got to at least let them know truthfully, this will harm you.
Yep. And I think, what's interesting is like some of you all going to be hearing this and go, yeah, but I have a really good gut instinct. And let me tell you this. Every mistake you've ever made is based upon that gut instinct.
Yeah.
Again, go back to your donut. Every time, like, I know I shouldn't have a second donut, but and then my gut goes, and not just belly gut, but my gut goes, go ahead and do that. And I did it. Right? And so, like, what usually goes when my gut instinct is, that's actually you've pondered for like a second or two. Most of the time, the thing that's in your gut, the thing you react to, like, every mistake you made it past that instinct, friend.
That's true.
Bummer.
It let you down.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Dear Life from the Path. My husband and I attended a party at the home of one of my co-workers. There were about 15 guests. The problem was the homeowner's pets, 2 dogs that live inside.
Mm-hmm.
The dogs were allowed to roam freely during the party. They barked each time a guest knocked or rang the doorbell and jumped up on each person who entered. They hovered at people's feet, waiting for food to drop or to be given to them. It felt like we were expected to pet the animals and interact with them whether we wanted to or not. The homeowner made no attempt to control the dogs to keep them away from any other guests. I don't dislike animals, but I don't want other people's pets jumping on my clothes, trying to lick me or getting close to my food. 2 large wire kennels were visible along a front hallway, which I assume are used during the day when the homeowner is away at work. What would have been the polite way to ask my coworker to put the dogs in their kennels or out in the garage while the guests were eating? Okay, I got this problem. I totally, I have 2 dogs that they roam around and they get to do whatever they want. If people stop by unexpectedly, I will do my best to try to get these fools put away, but you showed up unexpectedly. Like, this is what my house looks like when I don't expect you to be here, right? But on the other hand, when you're throwing a party and people are coming over, that slobber bomb I own and that one that can't keep itself from causing you trouble, they go in their kennel half hour before anybody's supposed to be there, because that's just regular living. No one wants to take responsibility for your animals, even when they're like, "Hey, can we go visit your dogs?" No, why don't you leave them alone? They're in their jail right now. Because when you bust them out, they act like convicts. That's why they're in the jail. And so, like, the question is what would have been the polite way to ask my coworker to put the dogs in their kennels? Do you feel like it's out of bounds for someone to say, hey, man, these dogs going to be roaming about all night? They should go in their bed.
I don't know. I mean, you're a guest at someone else's home. I would say I agree. They made, as pet owners, made maybe a poor choice. They should have put those dogs away, but they didn't. So if you're a guest in someone's home and their dog is out and you don't like the dogs, you're the one who should leave.
Mm.
Just say, hey, yeah, thanks for the party. It was great. Got stuff going on. Got to go. You
don't ever reveal the fact that the dogs are the linchpin of this deal?
I mean, if you want, but I don't know if it matters. I mean, to some people, their pets are full-fledged family members, and the last thing they would do is lock those puppies up.
If one of your kids were begging at the feet of the people for food, do you think they would mention it?
Yeah.
But like, hey man, your kid expects me to scratch his head.
It really did. I guess she did say that, like, it's the coworkers, right? So it really depends on how close you are. Like,
yeah.
Obviously, like, I would go over to Ben's house and go and say, hey man, will you put these dogs away?
Right.
They're tearing the place up. They're causing a ruckus.
Yeah, I think I might mention it on the off chance, and I think this is small, but on the chance that it feels real normal to the homeowner, and so they don't even notice. I might go like, hey man, your dogs are friendly. Like they're pretty excited and friendly. And like maybe that triggers in something, oh wow, I didn't even think
about it. Yeah, didn't even register. Yeah.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't press it beyond that. I'd probably just be like, okay, well, I mean, the clothes will wash. And if they're not like snagging, like if they're hanging around, like, I mean, that's what I would do if I were the dog.
What if they're like, so I have a big problem with this because we have a big bloodhound, and one, she slobbers horribly all over people, right on their pants. And then, like, when she goes to say hello, she gets you right in the mommy daddy button.
Oh, yeah.
That's where she sticks her nose. Bink. And, like, it's really rude. And so, like, would you let that pass and go, well, I mean, it's just the way the dog is.
That is what I thought, because your dog has done that to me, and
terrible.
I don't think like I didn't think you said like
Mike trained a
yeah,
dog.
hey Lou, go for the crotch.
Right.
Like I just presume the dog is being a dog.
Dog being a dog,
and
yeah,
it's awkward.
They do that at the dog park too. Hey, nice butt.
Yeah, right.
Sniff, sniff.
So
Sniff, sniff.
like
like
think I
a,
can make
like
enough
a
noise
dirty
sniffing.
trucker dog. Hey, you got a nice rear dog end.
yeah, like it's never occurred to me to blame. I don't particularly blame the owner. I'm just like, well, I mean, it's the dog. Like the dog kind of does what it wants to do. I mean, I think you're right. I think it's inconsiderate. Like you should think about your guest, and frankly, for the dog's best is to not put him in the middle of that stuff. But I'm with Dan to the extent that it didn't happen. I think you go with the Hail Mary and be like, man, your dog's excited. But past that, I think you just let it go.
Yeah.
And leave early if it's that big of
Yeah,
a deal.
if it's really upsetting you.
Yeah.
Okay, Secular says, to an animal lover, a pet is a member of the family. Your coworker obviously saw nothing wrong with his or her dogs mingling with the guests. There's no polite way to ask a host to put a family member in the garage during a party. Hey man, your uncle's got to go. you gotta pin that dude up. Telling your coworker that you found the pet's behavior disruptive may solve your problem because he or she will probably omit you from the future guest list. Okay, you're not wrong. So you're saying, look, if they're fickle enough, if you bring it up, they might just not invite you anyway, so no problem.
Yeah. Either way, I mean, I guess that's the thing. The level of impact you believe this has to you will drive the level of consequence. If you're not sure that it's a big deal, but you think they might fix it, then be casual about it. If you want to draw a mess because you think you're really put out, I mean, be prepared to be put out.
Okay, last one. Ready?
Yep.
Holy cow, it's a bit of a novel. I'll go fast.
Okay.
Dear Life from the Path.
Yep.
I was in a relationship that abruptly ended because he cheated. We didn't have kids, so I moved in with my parents until I was able to get back on my feet and eventually moved out. Because I couldn't afford a place on my own, I asked several friends about rooming together, including a close coworker friend who was there for me throughout my separation. At the time, she said no. Then she got another job, made better money, and 7 months later messaged me asking if I was still looking for a roommate.
Mm-hmm.
I said sure. She has a 9-year-old daughter, which I was cool with because it would just be us girls. We went apartment hunting, finally chose a place, and signed a 1-year lease. My friend mentioned to me that she had started, quotes, talking to her ex, the father of her daughter, but I didn't know it was a full-blown relationship when I moved in. He has been here since day one and spends the night. They have little family dinners and get-togethers at the apartment. I told her a month later that I noticed he stayed over a lot, and if this was going to continue, I was going to move out because this is not what I signed up for. She apologized and said she would talk to him. But we are 8 months in now, and he's still here every day. There are days I just leave the apartment and go to my mom's house or to my boyfriend's house because he is there, while I'm stuck paying half the rent. Should I stick it out for the remainder of the lease, talk to her again and have my pay a portion of my rent, or just move out?
Yeah, I mean, I would just move out.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you can make that work and not have to pay for it. I mean, they got 4 months, so it's not like a big...
I never thought to think of the apartment as a commodity, that having a rando dude sleep over, you're like, hey, man, I pay for that. Like, if he's sleeping in the other room with your roommate, right, but you're like, the air that exists in here, the fact that this apartment even is here to be slept in, I pay for half of that responsibility. So if you're going to be coming over here, you're going to be paying the rent.
Yeah, I mean, the question would be, would the roommate think of it the other way? If she had a boyfriend or a husband come in and live there.
Right. I can jam as much as I want to in my half as I can. I pay for half of this. If I wanted to put in 2 koalas and 3 dudes, it's fine.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's okay to say, like, part of what you're paying for is an understanding of a situation. If I moved in to a house with you two fellas, and then all of a sudden, like, one of you guys goes, hey, I picked up another roommate. Here's
He's paying half my rent. He's gonna stay in my room.
yeah, or if it's like a girl or something, and like I there's a difference between saying I live with a bunch of dudes, and then now my house is shared by a woman who like I don't know or something. Like, that's a change in situation. I think it's okay to have a preference that says, look, that's not what I was looking for.
Yeah,
I think that's fine.
That's fair.
Yeah, I mean, if you've communicated that to her, and I don't think she's going to boot the guy. It just doesn't sound like it.
Yeah.
So I mean, whatever. Let him take over your rent or something. This seems like shouldn't be much of a problem. Maybe they're just trying to edge you out.
Yeah.
Just leave. You both want the same thing.
Yeah, you're the third wheel in this deal.
Yeah.
I mean, there's pretty much a nuclear family living there, having special dinners together, and you're like the third weird wheel, and you got to hang out in your bedroom. How awkward would it be to come trolling through the living room? Why they're watching Toy Story 2 as a mom, a dad, and a kid, and here you are like in your Grundies rolling in to get broccoli.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, man. You should get out of there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think it's fine to leave directly.
Secular says, the time to have insisted the boyfriend pay a portion of the rent was 7 months ago, when it became plain he was part of a package deal. Not only should he pay up, he should do it in arrears. What's that mean?
I mean,
Go back.
Yeah, go back. But
Retroactive.
like, to what value? You've already lived it.
Yeah.
There's no reason for
Now
that.
you're just being a jerk.
Yeah.
If you can't move out with a penalty, then you will have to wait until your lease runs out. Sorry. I've never heard of the word arrears. ARREARS.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's a pretty common word, Mike.
Stop that.
Yeah.
I've never heard that
We
my
say it
whole
all
life.
the time over here.
Yeah.
I'm fairly educated. At least small amounts. I have been in arrears. I've never heard anybody use that phrase before.
Yeah. It's a pretty common phrase.
Okay. Anyway, you've been listening to Live from the Path on livefromthepath.org. Live streaming on all social media platforms, right, Ben?
I mean, we're not really live streaming on all social media platforms.
Dang, we're bouncing off every Musk satellite out there. All you got to do is look us up. You can catch us on the Instagram and the YouTube and the Facebook, and that's probably about it. And any podcast type applications.
Yeah. We're definitely hanging out where the podcast, where your favorite podcast is sold. Let's say you've got a complaint for the show today. You thought we gave some bad advice. We under cranked on the infidelity, and doggone it, you should be using that budgeting software. Your contentment is not a problem. I understand all these complaints. Hit us up on the Live from the Path complaint line, 515-517-0085. That's 515-517-0085. And we'd love to hear from you, and let us know how we're getting it wrong. Or, I mean, in case you've been drinking and you think we really nailed it, you can go ahead and say that too. Also, wherever you're getting your podcast, there is like probably a rate and comment type of thing on there. And like, I'm not convinced it works, but I mean, there's no harm if you think the show is valuable and you want other people to see it, giving it the old 5 stars and going, I found this at least a little bit helpful. It's probably helpful to us. So we would appreciate that if you would go ahead and rate and review the show. And if it's terrible and you need to warn people off it, go ahead and slap that 1 star or thumbs down. Just be honest about it. I think we're okay with
and
that.
don't let the comment like freak you out. You don't have to write some kind of novel, just like what or wham or even an onomatopoeia of any kind as the comment would be just fine.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's not a book. Like, you don't have to write chapter 2. Just be like, I think this is good, or this was all right.
Yeah,
That's fine.
And to follow the theme of that quote earlier, as long as your intentions are good, that's all we care.
Yeah, that's all that matters, really.
Yeah, unless you cause me harm.
Yeah.
And then I will call.
And then we're against it. All right. Hey, we do appreciate you guys hanging out with us on Live from the Path. Definitely give us some feedback on the show if you have it. Otherwise, we'll plan on being back here next week. In the meantime, be faithful in the means. God will handle the ends. You've been listening to Live from the Path.